Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today I thought that we would talk about some Transformers Armada toys. Now here, raise the camera up, here we have the original 2005, I believe, Transformers Energon Demolisher. Now this is the same mold as Armada Demolisher, just with new camouflage paint, and I don't have the cyber key or the missiles. I got this used from my uncle, and he doesn't have them. So he does still have Minicon ports, which I'll get to in a bit. And then this is Transformers Armada Galvatron from the new Legacy edition. And let's start out with the older one. So this is, as I said, Energon Demolisher, but it's the same mold as the Armada one, so I'll be using this. And right off the bat, the detailing is insane. That's the one thing that I loved about Armada, is all of the detailing that they put into these figures. And the animations, obviously, just like G1, the detail was dumbed down, but they still managed to incorporate a lot of the detail from those figure designs onto the animation models, which was pretty cool. And with all Armada toys, they have gimmicks. Now, as I said, I don't have the cyber key or the missiles. However, this mechanism still pushes back and launches, so I might 3D print some missiles and put them in there, but that does fire back and launch. He has a gimmick where you can flip the seat up and put a Minicon back there. I'll just take Tip Top and put him on there. He's around the same size as a Minicon back in the day. Articulation for older Armada minifigures, not that great. So his head can't do anything. It can look up, but that's for transformation. Shoulders can do a full 360. He has double jointed elbows for transformation, but because of how this is sculpted, there's a little lip on there, on the bicep, and that stops it from going all that far, so you can really only get a 90, but you get curve there. Backwards, it can flip all the way up, and that's for, my computer just went off, and that's for transformation. There are two torso points. Man, this is really messing with my autofocus. There are two mid-torso points. There's one that spins the seat, and one that spins the waist. I'm not sure why the seat spins. In neither mode it really needs to, but it does, I guess. Legs can go up really far. Can't go back too far because of the sculpt. Just this bumps into the seat portion, but you can sort of fudge it. There's no in and out motion of the legs. However, this crotch assembly does come apart for transformation, so you can sort of cheat that. There's a little bit of toe articulation for transformation, and a backwards knee bend if that's something that interests you. Oh, and I forgot about this while doing the gimmicks, but this, if you had the Minicon, and this is the Energon one, and it only came with the cyber key and not the Minicon, so I think it's interesting that they kept that mechanism in there. But his Minicon had a port on the back of it, and you would, see if I everything push that. You push him into there, and then there is a button on the back of that that pushes a little spring mechanism here, And when you get that lined up and push that down, hear that click, that is that mechanism going off. So let's see if I can show you on camera. Come on. There you go. So yeah, that minicon would launch out the front, and that'd be really cool. So overall, robot mode is pretty good. It's limited in its articulation, but that was just pretty much all the Armada toys. It was more about the gimmicks than the articulation. But overall look, I like the military green they have on him here. Head sculpt is really nice, very expressive. And overall, pretty nice robot mode. So let's get him transformed. Now, he has two, technically three transformations. One of them is his sort of attack mode. That isn't on the instructions, but he did it a lot in the show, where you just flip these up, and then the missiles would be facing forward, and you could take the minicon or cyber key, push that back, and it would fire the missiles. So there's his attack mode sort of thing. Now his second mode is his tank mode. So take the head, push that down, rotate the arms into attack mode, and compress that in the middle. Flip this back seat up, then fold these toes out, open up the legs, and fold that down like that. Same on the other side. And then this assembly, you're going to sort of wiggle it so that it's on the outside like that, and tab that into the back. There's a tab right there. Same thing on the other side, accordion that assembly out, push that in, and then there you have Demolisher in his tank mode. And tank mode looks pretty good. The turret rotates, and you can take a minicon, and I'll just put tip top there, and they can ride in the back. You could fit the minicon between here and shoot that out. All of the gimmicks still work in this mode, and overall I like the aesthetic. All of the Armada designs had a very interesting aesthetic. The Decepticons were more just like Cybertronian almost tank modes. They didn't look very Earth-like, and I really like that aesthetic for these toys. They're very interesting to look at, and they give a nice what's the word? A nice sense of diversity among them, between the Autobots and the Decepticons. That's pretty much all this mode can do. So, let's move into the anti-aircraft sort of mode thing. And this is on the instructions. So what they tell you to do is, you can have this flip down in this mode, but the instructions tell you to flip that up, undo these legs. Actually, first, I'm going to untab the legs, flip the entire waist around, not the seat, but the waist. Push these back up. Then what you're going to do is take these legs, fold these down by one click, and they do click into place. So fold them down by one click, it's down, position them to however you want, and sit them down, and there's his sort of anti-aircraft mode. Now in this mode, again, you can seat a minicon in there, and he can sort of control him. Turret rotation is a little limited as it bumps into the sculpt of the legs, but you can get pretty good. The rolling on this doesn't work, obviously, because the legs are just hanging out there, but you can, again, shoot the missiles. This gimmick doesn't work too well because you flip the waist around, so it's in the back now. Although you can see that mechanism there, that button in the back pushes down on there, and that spring releases it. And overall, it's a pretty cool little spider tank mode. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be. The instructions say anti-aircraft mode, I think. So I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to be. But yeah, overall, really, really fun transformations and a very fun toy. I really lean towards more gimmick-driven toys. Obviously, I have a lot of Studio Series toys on my shelf, but overall, I find myself playing with these gimmick toys a lot more, just because they're more fun. And now we move on to the latest Armada toy, to my knowledge. I think other than Tidal Wave, I'm not sure when these two came out. However, this is the Legacy Generations Evolution, I'm not sure, Armada Galvatron. Now, this is a repaint of the Armada Megatron toy, obviously, and I gotta say, I like this deco a little bit more. It just pops a little more than Megatron to me personally, because Megatron was more this deco, just with purple, and I don't know, it's not very, like, there's a lot of green, and not very green and purple, but just green and gray Transformers, like Lockdown, RID, Grimlock, he comes to mind. But this one, I don't think I've seen, other than Blitzwing, I don't think I've seen a lot of Transformers that do this purple and tan, especially not this pastel purple, which is really nice. Head sculpt is really nice too. This is a different sculpt than Armada Megatron. It's more angry. And on Megatron, I've seen the horns come out, but these on this head sculpt are molded in. They're not on separate things, so they don't come out. And overall, the aesthetic is really nice. It really nails that Armada, like tons of detailing and random panels and stuff. And one thing I like about these modern toys is on the sculpting, it's a lot softer. Like, there's still all this mechanical detailing, but it looks like it's sort of like when you sculpt clay, it's a lot softer. So that's what this reminds me of, but this has a lot sharper lines. Oh, voice crack. A lot sharper lines, a lot sharper sculpting. I really like that. And the gold has really nice accents as well. But the one thing that I am very disappointed by, and I know a lot of people are when they got Megatron and or Galvatron, is one, it doesn't have any minicons. You have to buy multi-packs in Legacy to get the minicons. And that's really annoying because there's only two. There's Hot Shots. I can't remember his name. It might have been Jolt. I'm not sure. And then there is the new minicon they came out with for the Armada Sideswipe mold. But he does not come with Leader 1 or Galvatron's minicon. However, he does have 5mm ports all over him, and they're in the places that the minicon would go in the show and the places where the gimmicks would be, and I'll get onto those more in, or rather, not get onto those more in tank mode. However, I like to take Heater and Tip Top here, and they are 5mm compatible, so I like to just transform them and put them on there and have them sort of act as minicons for them. And then I've repainted high test here to look like Leader 1, which you saw in my video for RID 2015 Optimus. So I've repainted that here, and then he has a 5mm peg, and I'm planning on shaving that little angle there off so that he can sit flush with Megatron, or Galvatron in this case. But it is really unfortunate he doesn't come with any of his mini-cons like Leader 1. But overall, he still looks really nice. Now, posing. He has a lot more posing than Demolisher here, obviously, because he's a modern toy and he's made for posing. So let's start with the head. Head is on a ball joint. It's not very expressive just because of the helmet sculpt. He has sort of the bucket helmet thing going on, and that lip there prevents him from looking up too far. But you can do a full 360, although it's a little tight. Shoulders are pretty loose. I wish they would have had a tab to lock in here somewhere. But shoulders can go up and down. He has this panel that comes out to accommodate for forward, can't go backward, can go out that far, more than 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, which I really like, wrist articulation, and you can go like that, but that's for transformation. Waist is really loose on my copy. I've tried to tighten these screws back here because they were a little bit loose when I was tightening them, but it's still really loose, and that is kind of annoying. It doesn't, like, when you're in poses, it doesn't droop or anything. It holds its position, but when you're posing him, it gets really annoying. Legs are on a soft ratchet. They can go up that far. Can't go back that far because of the turret. Ratcheted, soft ratcheted, bend. They can go out that far as well. And you have some toe articulation here, and insane ankle pivot. So posability on this guy is very, very good. But let's get on to some of the gimmicks that they did keep in here. Now, the gimmicks he does have, obviously this turret. It can't rotate all the way, which is kind of annoying. I could just go in there, take that apart, and cut the post. I've seen people take this apart and there's a post in there that's keeping it from going that far, and they just cut it out and it can do a full rotation. But I'm not gonna do all that for this. He does have the pelvic thrust cannon, as I like to call it. No minicon. Normally you would be able to put a minicon on here, but it doesn't come with one. So, and this doesn't fire anything, it just comes off, which is really annoying and very loose and warped as well. I've tried to warp it with a hairdryer back to its original position because it was really curving and it looked kind of gross, but so it's alright. In warmer temperatures, this gets really loose just because it expands, because science. Sorry, science. But yeah, it is really loose because it's just hot in this room. But he also does have Evo Fusion, which you take this, open it up, spin this around, close it, close that up. You couldn't see anything. Close that up, flip that forward, flip this forward, which is not spring loaded, unfortunately, and they sculpted this sad little track in there because that would have flipped it forward. And then I like to rotate it that way because that's how it was in the show. And then you have Evo Fusion. And now we get on to the transformation. Let me just fix this. Now we get on to the transformation. Now, transformation is standard Armada stuff. It obviously takes a lot from the original toy. However, it again has neutered some of the gimmicks that made the original transformation really pop and make it really fun. So to start, you're going to open that panel, fold the fists in, push those up in there, and close it. Same on the other side. Now when you're taking them out, you have to kind of get your thumb in here, because there's a post that goes in the 5mm ports there, and it kind of is really hard to get out. So you have to get your thumb in there and get it out. Now this upsets some people because you notice this hinge here. Normally this would be the thing for the face shield, which I don't know why they couldn't do. It's not spring loaded, it's not electronic, it doesn't do anything. So they could have put it in there, but they didn't. So you pull this open and flip that out, and then put that up there, which is kind of sad. I really wish they would have kept that in there. It really gave the transformation some flair. Open those up, shift this up, and then these parts will come up and tab in. Push those down. Same on the other side. And then you have the front done. Flip the turret around, open that up, spin that around, close it back up, open up these leg flaps, and hinge them there, and those will tab in here and up there. Open those up. And there you have tank mode. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, flip those feet down like that. There you have tank mode. And tank mode, honestly, is really lame. So, on the original toy, he had loads of fun gimmicks, all kinds of stuff you could do in a tank mode. But here, he just does nothing. The only thing, you can see this is bent and all. The only thing he does is that. And he doesn't even do it correctly, because on the original toy, there was a gap here. And what they could have done on this, but they didn't, was take this and slide it over like that and just made this shorter. Or even kept it, because they don't exactly line up on these sides. I don't think they did in the original toy, but all they had to do was create a gap between here and here, and it would have flipped forward like it did on the original toy, and it would have been more accurate. But they kept it like this, and it doesn't, just stick straight up, which is really annoying. Maybe it was for Evo Fusion, maybe that's what they were going for, but overall, just kind of annoying that it does that. Again, they made the turret so it can't rotate all the way around, which normally I wouldn't mind on a tank. I wouldn't mind if the turret doesn't rotate, but it annoys me that they didn't just go all the way with it. Again, L-shaped track here, just molded in detail, and that's all of the gimmicks. All of the gimmicks are molded in detail. These would flip out, molded in. This was a ramp that would flip out, molded in. These had things inside of them you could put minicons, molded in. It does literally nothing. It just sits there, and admittedly it looks cool. I love the design concept of these sort of Cybertronian weird tank modes, and all of the detailing and painting is really impressive, but they kept nothing in. And this is a leader class toy too, and it does nothing. They could have easily added extra hinges to make those come open, or that flip up, or those open, but they just didn't. And I don't feel like I'm getting leader price from this, because it just doesn't do anything. The only thing that I can think of as for why it's at leader price point is because of the plastic. Because you can make this at the same scale at a Voyager, or not Voyager, Deluxe, at a lower price point, and still have it be this big, just with thinner plastic. But the plastic here is really thick. You can see those part walls are really, really thick. And that's the only reason, is they made the plastic really, really dense and put extra paint on there. And that's the only reason he's a leader class. And I would have been perfectly fine with him being a leader class if he had a little bit thinner plastic to cut down on the plastic cost and use that cost to add in hinges for the gimmicks, because he just does nothing. But overall, that's my census on this figure. Is it could have been really good if they had cut down on the plastic, sort of plastic quality, not making it so thin as like, I don't know, like RID 2015 toy, but just making it, putting a little less effort into making the plastic feel as premium as it does, and using that cut down cost to put in the gimmicks. And I understand that that Legacy isn't what Armada was about. It's not about the gimmicks, but even on Hotshot or the Energon toys, they still have the cyber keys. They still do the gimmicks. You just have to manually do them, and that would have been fine for him, but he just doesn't have them. And that really keeps me from recommending him over recommending him. Because if you can find this on eBay for like 30 bucks or little more, I'd say the most I would pay for this is 60 bucks with all of his accessories in English, then that would be a really great deal for him. But for him, 50 bucks, just, I can't recommend it for $50. If it's on sale for 40, even possibly heavy clearance 30 bucks, I would definitely recommend buying him. But for the full leader price, it really doesn't do it for me. But yep, that's my look at Legacy Armada Galvatron and Transformers Energon Demolisher. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on if you think that this is worth leader class price, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.